I think I have adequately made up for the travesty of a look from last week's video. It is the Easter holidays, therefore I don't have work for 2 weeks. I finished an assignment today. I didn't sleep all night because of it, but I finished an assignment today and it's got me very, very excited. And I thought that maybe I could record a video around a specific event, life event of mine that I've actually told before, but people seem to be interested in once again because of a document that I found that I will be reading later. I don't even know why I'm introducing it like this. I'm going to be talking about arranged marriages today. I feel like I'm not done venting my frustrations about the time I almost got arranged married entirely behind my back. I found my marriage CV from like 2015. I know there are a lot of questions about marriage CVs. I've had questions from friends and co-workers that I sent this to. They were like, "What the hell is this?
Why are you showing it to us?
Are you okay?"
For me, arranged marriages were very much a normal thing in my family. Like, almost every single couple that I know of in my family was arranged to be married to somebody. And it shows, because everyone fucking hates each other in my family. You can tell they didn't marry for love. Like, you can taste it. Every single family dinner, the bitterness is in the food. I've been arranged married since I was about 15. Normally, the men that propose to me, or their families come forward to propose them on their behalf, the men are like much older than me. When I first got proposed to, I was about 15 and the guy was about 26. I'm pretty sure he was the one that refused the marriage in the end, because I wasn't really given a call. It was just assumed that I would get married. It happened every single time that I got one of these proposals. It was just assumed that I would accept, because what other options could I possibly have as a woman? That was just the normality in my family. Like, everyone got arranged married. I was the oldest daughter in, among my siblings. I was the oldest child, and then also on my father's side I was the eldest granddaughter, so I was going to be the first one to get married regardless of what I had to say about it, apparently. And they were so desperate to get me married on that side. Like, we had not had like a younger generation marriage ever on that side, so it was like, oh, we have to get her married, because if we don't get... And I have cousins who are older than me, by the way. I have 2 or 3 male cousins who are older than me who they decided,
"Oh, don't need to get married, let them focus on their careers and get their jobs and their cars and their houses, and we're just gonna marry off the 15-year-old idiot girl who doesn't know how to do anything, has no life skills, don't intend to educate her at all. Yeah, let's get that bitch married."
So that was their mentality. I'm gonna go grab my marriage CV so I can read it to you, and then I will get into telling the very unfortunate tale of the time that I almost got completely hitched off without my knowing it. So here it is. I was 18 years old when I wrote this, so it was about 7 years ago that I wrote this. You guys can do the math on the year. It was probably wasn't 2015, it was probably a little bit earlier than that. It's like a delivery guy or something who was just sniffing around our bins. You okay? Let me explain to you what a marriage CV is. It's like a regular CV, but because there's no dating in my family or in a lot of really orthodox religious groups, we just sent out CVs across the board to different families of our eligible youth who wanted to get married. And usually you'd put like your date of birth, how tall you are, you'd send a little graphic of yourself. I'm not going to put the pictures that came with this CV here, but if you want to see it, I don't know why you would. It's on my Twitter. Go follow me there. All of my links are in the description below. It had like what schools you went to, what grades you got. It had your parents, like their names, your grandparents' names on both sides, what village they come from in Bangladesh, because you know us Bengalis, we only get married to Bengalis. I also got to write a personal statement that I feel like I would need a prop for, but I'm not in the mood today. So we're just gonna read it.
By Allah's grace and mercy, I am a practicing Muslimah following the authentic sources, Quran and Sahih Hadith, and I try to implement them. Our hometown in Bangladesh is in Molvi Bazar in Sylhet. My father from Uttar Mulaim and my mother from Borhat.
If anyone is from there, let me know. We're probably related.
I am a sister to 5 siblings, 3 brothers and 2 sisters, all of them younger than myself. I am looking for a practicing Muslim spouse who understands his role as a husband and, inshallah, father, as well as brother, son, and friend. I would prefer a man of good character who deals kindly but justly among people and is a one that does not follow a denominational sect of Islam. I also hope that he has the intention of hijrah.
I know I haven't really explained all the other terms, they're not really relevant, but hijrah is basically when someone moves from here, like a non-Muslim country, to like a Muslim country. That's what hijrah means. In this context anyway, hijrah just means journey, but in this context it's like you leave the land of the infidels to live with the pious people.
It goes without saying that he should strive to be like the greatest man in history, our beloved Prophet Muhammad.
I'm not going to say that the catchphrase that everyone says after his name.
As should we all. His being the greatest example to humankind, good in conduct, soft in speech, and strong in resolve, among other strong and goodly characteristics. Jazakallahu khairan for reading my message.
Jazakallah just means like thanks.
And may Allah's peace and blessings be upon you.
And that was my marriage CV. You'll be unsurprised to learn that I was freshly out of college. Like, I had just gotten my A-levels, didn't have a degree, didn't know what the fuck money was, didn't have a bank account. Let's get to the story. So, let me set the scene, okay? It's the winter or like autumn of 2014, right? 2014, years ago now. It feels like yesterday, but it was years ago. 2014, right? This guy sends in his CV. My dad likes the CV, so he's like, hey, do you want to check this guy out? Do you want to meet him? We can invite him to your grandma's house. We can have dinner. It could be great. You can talk to him. You can find... My dad's just really, really trying to pitch this guy to me because my dad is a terrible person, but he has a very likable character with anyone and everyone he meets. He can go from being very neurotic and just like not even a human being, just a feral animal, to being like very composed and very like he can sell you on anything. He's practically a snake oil salesman. He has just the silverest of forked tongues. Okay, he can talk you into anything. I've seen him do it with complete strangers. He gets this CV and he's trying to be excited because he knows my life is miserable. And basically, my life is miserable because of a lot of different things that had happened. My mom had passed away from cancer the year before. He was getting married to my stepmom, which we'll talk about in a bit. You know, I was looking after my 5 siblings because my father is useless and couldn't do anything in the house except for like cook 1 meal a week. It was just a lot. I was freshly out of college. Like all of these are like really difficult things to explain because it's no one's fault. Like, it was literally just this freak thing that happened and just ran through my life, and I prefer to look on it as humor rather than just to be completely morbid about it all of the time. Obviously there are moments where I do, you know, sit and think about it and have a little cry, but most of the time I like to deal with them through humor. So if I am laughing and joking a lot about this stuff, it's just a coping mechanism. It's not that I actually find any of these things truly funny because they really wrecked me. I'm not gonna lie, they really, really wrecked me. In my final year of college is when my mother got really, really ill. It was also the year that she had my final sibling, so my youngest sibling. And a lot of her symptoms for the cancer that she had, which was gastrointestinal cancer, it was kind of masked by the pregnancy because it was a very tough pregnancy for her, and even though she felt the symptoms of the cancer a lot earlier, she was not diagnosed until June of 2013. And for reference, my brother had been born in February of 2013. So that was my final sibling who was born. And by the time it was diagnosed, she was already in terminal stages. So that was my last year of college. You know, it was barely any college, because most of the time I was just in and out of the house. I was taking care of the kids, I was booking appointments for my mum, I was making sure my dad was okay, and the only thing that I was going into school for was exams. The rest of it was just me trying to deal with my issues at home. I did pretty well on my A-levels, so that's a positive. I got A, B, C, and I did not write like a formal letter of, oh, I'm special circumstances or whatever, because I just simply did not have the time to, and I don't know. I feel like my mum was very happy that even though I was struggling, I could still keep up with my studies and also be there for her and the family. So that was me fresh out of college. Then my mother passes away in December 2013, and then the first year without my mother was really, really tough until one of my aunts got very obsessed with marrying me off. And she has told me on many occasions that, sometimes less gently than other times, that her motivation for wanting to get me married off was so that I didn't have to live with my father anymore. But I do think that it was in fact a very selfish desire for her to just have a day to celebrate somebody's wedding. I don't know how familiar you are with unemployed, at this point single mothers of like several children who have very, very useless and very, very tactless partners, but this is their whole thing. Their whole life is sitting in the dining room gossiping about every bitch on the planet that they have ever laid eyes on, and waiting for somebody to get married, or waiting for somebody to die, or waiting for someone to get born. Like, they're just there like the fucking, I don't even know, like one of those, you know, in the Nerns or something from like Norse mythology, the ones that are sitting there like looming the thread, and except like they're not doing anything useful. Like, the fates are there so that they can like weave threads of great heroes or whatever, but they're not doing any of that. They're just sitting there and chatting shit and waiting for someone to die, get married, or be born. That is it. That is their whole life. And every time I thought about the notion of marriage after I had reached the age of like 15, because the presentation of marriage before that was very, very different, because I was a child and I was stupid and did not understand what marriage meant. But like past the age of 15, that is all I could see my married life looking like. Like, that was all I... But anyways, my aunt got obsessed with getting me married. She was desperate to get me married, and she found this guy, and for some reason she got weirdly fixated on his mother. Like, she was really... She talked me up to the mother-in-law more than she talked me up to the actual guy.
She was like, oh, this mother-in-law, she's so lovely, she's so young, she's so sprightly, she'll do all the cooking, you won't even have to worry about it.
My mother was frequently mistreated by my grandmother, like my father's mother, because that's just how Asian families are sometimes, that you get married into another Asian family and then they, you know, sometimes for your the duration of your entire marriage, till death do you part, you're in your mother-in-law's house, or until you find a place. And this man that my father is trying to talk me up to because he just wanted me to be excited about something, and my aunt who's talking me up to this guy who, she just wanted a selfish marriage for herself but didn't want to get herself married, so instead tried to project that onto me. She was really talking up. I knew that this man was never going to leave his mother's house, because when I sat down to talk to him, he told me that. He never wanted to leave his mother's house. You're the oldest of all of your siblings. Both of your sisters live in that house. Your parents live in that house. And you're telling me the day we get married, you're gonna pull me into bed and make all that ruckus around that giant house? I don't fucking think so. I don't like the idea of that. I don't like the idea of just people who I need to have a good impression with being able to hear all my sex noises, because I would be so scared of the conversation the next morning. And I'm like embarrassed about nothing. I have nothing that I am embarrassed about. But that thought, the idea of me like having relations with my newlywed husband and then going downstairs and having that conversation with my mother-in-law is just not one I want to have. And I've seen my grandmother grill people, okay? My grandmother, like, listen, some of you try to put like the fear of God in me. Some of you try to put the fear of the public in me, right? Some of you try to put the fear of anything and everything into me. But listen to me when I say I grew up with my grandma, okay? And that woman, she is God. In her house, she is God. And you will learn to fear her. After my dad had almost killed me in my house because I reported her son, she fully told me that you either go back to your father's house or get out of mine. To her own granddaughter who was just almost murdered by her son. My grandmother does not fucking play around, and that is the only basis of an image that I have of a mother-in-law. Like, I don't imagine a mother-in-law being anything else but that. Like anything else. I imagine her being a fucking nightmare, and I did not need. I already have one of my grandmothers. I have another one. she's wonderful, but she's in Bangladesh. She can't protect me. You know, my mom's also dead. Like, no one is here to protect me. I was not, like, my grandma said to my face that if we were in Bangladesh, she would burn me alive. And I still have that fear. Like, I will never go back to Bangladesh until she is dead and buried. Because I have that fear that if she finds out that I'm in Bangladesh, she will burn me alive. I'm not afraid of anything like I'm afraid of my grandma, okay? Like, there are thousands of confrontations that I have had. There are thousands and hundreds of arguments that I've had. There have been millions of comebacks that I have made that I would not have the spine to make in front of my grandmother. I just don't. Something about her just makes me soil myself. I viscerally fear that woman. And that's the only image that I had in my head for my marriage. Like, I was just going to be one of those plain Jane stay-at-home wives who's just waiting in the baby mill, waiting for this bun to come out, right? While I gossip with the bitches about all the other bitches. And then I have this mother-in-law who is just a carbon copy of my grandmother. And I'm like, do I want that life? Faye, do you, like, in your, like, let's put aside, like, your Islamic goals for just 5 seconds, because at the time I was still a Muslim. Let's just put that aside for a second. Like, I know that you're desperate. You are desperate to leave Dad's house. Like, I know that. I know that you are desperate to leave Dad's house. But do you really want to leave Dad's house to waltz your way, like shim-sham your way into a marriage that you are neither invested nor interested in, to a man that is so inept that he feels like he has to live in his mother's house for the rest of his life, and he admits that the first time you meet him, to living with his sisters and his mother-in-law, and you don't think you're gonna murder that man? He met me, I met some of his family, and it was all this thing of like, oh, wonderful, nice, lovely. And then I heard a couple of days later that he wants to marry me. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And I made it very clear that, well, they didn't even ask, but I was in the position, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because home life is really terrible, and then at the same time, this looming over me is even more terrible. Like, I can't think of a worse way to solve a problem. During that thinking period that I was having, my dad got married for the second time, which you would think is a joyous occasion. but it wasn't. Not because the woman in question was terrible at all. It was because my father treated her so poorly. So poorly. Like, and this is what I'm saying. Like, even if I do say positive things about my father when I'm talking about him, just remember that there are two very different sides to him. There's an absolute garbage feral animal of a man to him, but there's also this really, really appealing side to him where he's an incredible conversationalist and he can just sway people very easily. It's nothing to him to like say a bunch of lies and convince, like, it's nothing. I've seen him do it without one bead of sweat, without even blinking. Like, he can look someone dead in the eyes for hours and just lie to them, because I have seen him do it. I have actively seen him teach me and my siblings how to do it. The lies he came up about this woman, let me tell, like, this is no longer just about my marriage, because there were two marriages involved here. There was the marriage, my father's marriage, and the one that was being discussed for me, right? And this woman, I didn't know her long enough to build a picture of her, of whether or not I liked her or not, but she seemed nice, you know. She didn't do anything questionable in our house, at least not to my knowledge. I don't know, she got along with the kids, and that was another concern of mine, is that if I get married off, what's going to happen to the kids, because my father's completely inept. And I think my aunt's whole plan was that if you know, my stepmom got really cozy with the family, then I could just leave and it wouldn't be a problem. That didn't happen, because my father emotionally abused my stepmother to the point where she attempted suicide in our bathroom, and my whole family blamed her. I am not fucking shitting you. My whole family, my whole dead ass, my whole ass fucking family blamed this woman for her own suicide, because they just did not want to admit the blatant fucking truth that my father is fucking awful and something needs to be done. Whether it's prison time or it's, you know, enforced psychological therapy or something, they just did not want to do anything about him. Like, I'm dead serious. My family would only check on us like monthly to make sure we were alive or something. I don't even know why they bothered, because the things that were going on in that house, it was like everyone fucking knew in my family. Do you know why? Because I would call them and tell them every single day a recount of every single thing that happened in that house. And you know what? I think that my aunts really enjoyed that they had someone to speak to and cry on the phone to every single day, and they just didn't want that to change, like, ever. So once I moved into this new house, oh look, I have new fucking things to cry about and tell you about. My father's marriage is out the window because he drove her to kill herself in her bathroom. That's a whole other story, by the way. I may tell that in full detail on another occasion, but that's where I'll leave it for the moment because it's not the focus of the story and I feel like I've tangented enough. I call up my aunt, like, fully, like the next day, I call her up and I'm like, hey, you know what happened yesterday? She's like, what happened yesterday? Did she try to kill herself yesterday? Do you remember that? And she's like, oh, yeah, that thing. Oh, horrible, awful. Oh, terrible. You know, she could have fixed it. She didn't have to do that. I'm like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. I don't want to get married to the guy. And she's like, what are you talking about? What the fuck do you mean, what am I talking about? I do not want to get married to the guy that you introduced me to. I'm not interested in him. I'm not interested in his mother. I'm not interested in any of it. Get me out of it. I don't want to get married. And she's like, why the fuck not? Because there is no safety net now for my siblings, who I have been caring for the last 2 to 3 years while my mum was sick and dying. Maybe his mother would let you take them with you. Are you fucking stupid? No, maybe, just hear me out, maybe you could spend time with them on the weekends. Am I meant to play with their corpses? Because that's what it fucking sounds like. And she goes, okay, no, but like, just think, no. I said no. I'm not getting married to him. I don't want to get married to him. I've decided I do not get me married to him. I don't want to get married to him. The last thing I need is a whole new family fucking drama while I'm constantly dealing with this one. I don't need it. Don't get me married to him. Click. A few years have passed, so that might have been slightly more exaggerated, but that was the general gist of the conversation. Don't get me fucking married to him. That was in February of 2015. Now, between February of 2015 and like August of 2015, there was a lot of social services involved because my stepmother had obviously tried to, because, right, they got involved, and I had told my dad quite upfront that whatever they ask me, I am not going to lie about it. And he became so suspicious. For reference, before this, my dad used to talk to me at all waking hours of the day. And when I say talk to me, I mean talk at me. At very high volumes. Endlessly. And after that, he did not speak a fucking word to me. He just didn't. He just considered it the biggest betrayal that he could even think of. How dare you? How dare you tell the truth to supportive services that could help? How dare you, Faye? I tell the whole unadulterated truth to this social worker when it finally gets to my turn, because she was kind of individually interviewing all of my siblings and my father took up 3 whole sessions. So I asked some preliminary questions like, I have these fears, like my family keep fear-mongering that if I ask you for help, then you're just going to take us all away and ship us off to different houses and we'll never see each other again. And she kind of put my mind to ease and was like, you think with this conservative government that we have that much money to just put you in different places? Wow, you really think highly of us if you think that's going to happen. And I was like, okay, fine, well, clearly that's not going to happen, so great. Maybe we can just have a little bit of help rather than the full-blown help that we fully deserve. Like, my stance has completely changed. You should have totally, even if that was the only option, just put us in different houses, man. Those kids do not belong in my father's house. And it's all good. I set things up with the social worker. She's like, yeah, we'll get you some extra help, like throughout the day. We'll figure like a pattern out with your dad. We'll do regular checks, all of this stuff, right? Amazing, wonderful, made so much progress. Couple of weeks go by and my dad beats the absolute ever-loving shit out of me. It's not even worth retelling at this point. He tries to kill me, right? A couple of days after this, like I've given my statement, whatever, and I'm living in, I think at that point I was at my uncle's or my grandma's house. My aunt calls me, or I don't actually remember if she called me or she came and like sat with me and spoke to me, but she calls me and she's like, it's all over, you ruined everything. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean I've ruined everything? What everything was there to ruin? Like, are you talking about the family? Are you talking about the kids? Like, are you saying I'll, like, never be able to go back there? Because I'm determined to keep myself and all of them out of there. No, I'm talking about the family. You've ruined things with the family. And I was like, what family are you fucking talking about? I'm talking about my family. You talking about my family? It's this fucking guy's family. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, what do you mean things aren't gonna work out with the guy's family? Well, they were so ready to accept you. Like, they booked the hall, they made the food, and I'm sitting there like, I told you no. Are you telling me that you set up a full wedding behind my back? Oh, well, it doesn't matter anymore because they don't want you anymore. Okay. I didn't want them to start with. I told you no. And she was like, well, I just thought you were depressed. Oh, I was depressed. That's the exact reason why I didn't want to get married. Because I did not want to go into a marriage and then murder that man on the first night. And this woman, this aunt of mine, had made it her mission over the next like 2 or 3 years where I was still living with family to embarrass me and like shame me at every single juncture, every single opportunity she got. Like, I had a job working in a charity shop, and she would walk in there and just have a go at me. My manager knew who she was at that point. Like, I'd be walking to the station to go to my minimum wage job, right? And she'd just be waiting there, waiting to yell at me in the middle of the street next to a train station. Like, wow, you really lacking shit in your life if you go into that effort. Like, you don't even like me. Like, I still hear things through the grapevines from multiple different people where they can't stop scrolling through my Instagram. I love, you know what my favorite thing that my aunt has said to me is that no one's ever going to be able to trust you. You reported your father, no one's ever going to be able to trust you again. That's one of my favorite things she's ever said to me. Do you know why? Because what's hysterical to me is that I don't fucking care. Like, if you are being a horrible person, you beating people up, you spitting at people, you treating people like shit, you deserve to be reported. And if my man is going to do that to me in my house, something's going to be done about it. I don't care if they don't trust me. That just tells me they got shit to hide. No? Why would I want to go to an environment where they think they have to walk on eggshells because I left a genuinely difficult situation through police force? Does that not just show that they have shit to hide if they suddenly just do not trust me? Like, they called off a whole ass fucking wedding. They paid and everything. Food paid, venue paid, hell, probably ring and dress paid. I don't fucking know. I don't know how far they went. But, like, apparently she kept these people on the hook for, like, 2 more years. After all of the shenanigans, she was like, oh no, you know, she's getting better, and she got angry at me because the mother-in-law started losing faith in her because she has an inability to communicate clearly what both parties fucking want. Who are you benefiting? And then, like, at my cousin's wedding, when my cousin got married eventually, she, like, ambushed me with my other aunts and was like, oh, this is what we wanted for you. Yeah, you wanted a happy day for yourself, bitch. Like, that's what you wanted. You wanted to deck out in your old-fashioned fucking nice clothes, and just dunk on everybody. Oh, look at my niece, look at my nephew, look at my fucking, wow. If you're that desperate for attention and this is the only way you can see it, just get married again. Fuck your current husband, you don't even like him. You do not, like, the amount of times that I've heard you talk shit about him in front of him is like, wow. The story of my arranged marriage. It's not a particularly fond memory, but it does make a very interesting story, I guess. And, like, I could talk for hours about my aunts. I should just talk about aunties in general and how they operate and why they are a force to be reckoned with and they need to be stopped. Like, that whole, not just the people, the culture of auntiness needs to stop. Like, it either needs to stop or it needs to change because it's so not okay. All of my issues as a kid that stemmed from my family all came from my aunties. Like, all of them. If they weren't from my dad, they were from my aunties. It was my aunties that were constantly pushing me into the ground so that they could feel better. Constantly. Fucking constantly. Oh, you don't have any makeup? Here, have our old makeup. Oh, you don't have any nice clothes? Here, have our really nice clothes that we know won't fit you. Like, we used to be this size when we were your age. We used to look like this when we were your age. We had all these trends when we were your age. And it's like, I'm sorry, I'm here, you know, jilbab, niqab, completely covered. What the fuck do you want me to do with that? You don't even see me. Leave me the fuck alone. Sorry. Clearly there's unresolved issues here. But, yeah, I hope you had a good time listening to this story. I hope you had a good time with some daytime. Finally, I can film in daytime. Oh my god. And yeah, I don't know. Every time I sit here and reminisce, it either does this thing to me where it's like, I have a really good time and I feel really good about it, or I'm fueled with rage because some people in my life have been absolutely infuriating, and I don't know, it's happened repeatedly. Like, repeatedly it's happened where I come across these people and I become invested in them, and then it's like, why do I keep doing this to myself? Is it like self-sabotage? What is this? But yeah, anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you have any suggestions for what you would like me to detail to you, let me know. I would be intrigued to find out. I'll also be using a completely different editor this time because my MacBook has died unceremoniously, and I'm wondering what the fuck to do to it. So if you have any ideas, I don't really feel like selling it, it's too old to sell. So if you have any ideas for what I can do with it, hit me with those ideas. I don't know what to do with it because it's just lying on the floor, sad and miserable, not working. So yeah, anyways, I will see you in the future, and as always, have a lovely week. I will see you very, very soon, and yeah, goodbye.